Okay, picture this. You wake up for yet another dreadful day. Your throat is sore and your body feels heavier than usual. But you somehow achieve to carry yourself out of bed and go to the bathroom. You look at yourself in the mirror and you hate every single thing you see there. You want to spit on your reflection. And some thoughts about breaking the glass might even pop into your head from time to time. Unfortunately, you're running late, so you put on your human costume and you walk in the streets wishing you had this guy's nose or this guy's hair. You're born like that. And you don't really understand why. Why aren't you like the other ones? If only you had those hands or that smile, you too will be able to conquer the world. Unfortunately for you, nature decided otherwise. You try to hide the best you can. And when you gather enough courage to talk about what bothers you so much, people don't seem to understand why it's such a big deal for you. And that most people don't even pay attention to that when it comes to knowing and loving you. But they don't see what you see. They don't seem to understand how that huge stain on your existence is ruining your life on a daily basis. You finally get home. You avoid the mirror and you just sink in your bed in the dark where no one can see you for who you think you are. You feel like shit, not worth anything, and like a waste of air somehow. And tomorrow is yet another day where you have to put on your costume once again and act like you wouldn't give up everything to just get rid of that self-proclaimed stain. Let's talk about that stain. Feeling self-conscious can be a lifelong struggle that still pops up from time to time when you get older. It may be tempting to think that everybody has it all figured out, while you are the odd one out, forever getting things wrong. So you find yourself in a sort of fight or flight situation. Either you hide, or you'll be left out for daring to be yourself. So you hide, by impersonating a person you're not, until at one point you feel like an imposter in your own body. Unfortunately, one of the major downsides of putting on a daily show is that you're slowly losing who you are, and God forbids anyone trying to help you get your costume off. What would be possibly more embarrassing than lashing yourself because you're who you are? Well, actually, a lot of things, to be fair, but people spotting your flawed corpse under your well-elaborated costume is definitely on that list. You know those times when you stumble into some awkward situations that just makes you want to disappear? Your gut reaction might be to get all hot-headed and defensive, or worse, directly attack the person as retaliation. Trust me, I've been there too. But here's the deal, snapping back with anger doesn't really make things better. It's almost like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. It might seem like a fun idea at first, but then it quickly gets out of hand. The only thing you'll actually achieve is getting people out of your life. But don't get me wrong though, if the remarks you're getting are just pure bullying, get the fuckers out of your life immediately. Those are just sad little humans who project their own insecurities on you just to feel better about themselves. You're better off. But if the remark's genuinely benevolent, it might be worth considering the perspective and intention behind it. People who care about you might offer constructive criticism or point out something that you haven't noticed about yourself. In such cases, it's important to take a step back and evaluate whether there might be some truth to what they're saying. Allow me to share a personal story about this. Back when I was 18, I wasn't too fond of myself and I couldn't understand why anyone would want to hang out with someone as flawed as me. At some point, I realized I needed some change. I wanted to go somewhere new, so I decided to tag along with a friend of mine to Prague. When I got there, I was pretty freaked out to say the least. I started having panic attacks because I felt like I wasn't good enough to be there. As if my human costume was all wrong. One of the 2 weeks I planned to be there, I ended up spending 4 days cooped up in the apartment because I didn't think I deserved to go outside. I didn't want anyone to see me and I didn't want to see myself too. So, feeling self-conscious can easily lead to getting isolated and becoming socially anxious. And that's where things can get a little tricky. If I had let my insecurities win that day, I would have completely messed up a trip that was supposed to help my mental health to begin with. Then I thought to myself, I am in a foreign country where I will probably never come back. Why do I have to experience a mental breakdown over the idea of going outside just because I disliked myself that much? It didn't make sense. I didn't have to feel that way. I'm just here to visit castles and drink cheap beer. Damn, what happened to the original plot of the movie here? So I did just that. I, quote-unquote, imposed myself on the city, which literally means just walking outside and breathing the same air as everybody else. I just lived, and for the first time, I felt like myself. And I didn't have to pretend anymore. And let me tell you what, it was a pretty damn good start. Fast forward 6 years later. I still hate myself to some extent, but it got way better. So what happened in the meantime? You'll never hear me say, just accept yourself as you are, in some vague manner. I'm more about practicality and realism. When I'm not happy with something about myself, I work on building up something else that I like to counterbalance that. Think of it as like a set of gauges. Each gauge being a characteristic. Things I appreciate and things I don't. The overall reading from all these gauges decides how confident I feel about myself. The only problem with this system is that you need all the inputs to make it work efficiently. So, you need to incorporate the characteristics that you like about yourself too. Maybe you have cute hands, maybe you have good pattern recognition, or even an unconditional love for dinosaurs. In other words, things that you find valuable based on your own value system. Unfortunately, the brain is a captivating yet super dumb tool. It has a knack for magnifying our self-perceived flaws while burying our positive traits deep within. Although, two activities might help you dig them out: experimentation and journaling. By experimenting, I mean pushing the boundaries of your comfort zone, trying new things, and uncovering hidden strengths. Travel to a place you don't speak the language, help the elderly, go camping in the wild, try a new haircut, doesn't really matter. This process serves as a reality check, revealing authentic capabilities that you might have doubted or overlooked. Journaling, on the other hand, is like holding up a mirror to your thoughts. It provides a clear, unfiltered record of your experiences, emotions, and progress. Reviewing these entries over time allows you to objectively track your growth and affirm that your skills are indeed genuine. My advice here is quite simple. Every day, grab a piece of paper, write what you're doing every hour, add to that a to-do list that you'll fill and empty throughout the day, and if you're feeling like a silly goose, you might even want to add a little special box at the bottom of your paper sheet where you'll write 5 things you're grateful about your day. If you're not feeling inspired, you can even write, "I'm grateful for breathing." Your goal is to do it every day and uncover the gauges that went missing over time. Writing kinda make things more real in a way. When you get these new additions, you might see that you have good qualities, and you can also do well in other areas, even the ones you're not very confident about. And that's where things get really interesting. Now that you have a solid base that you can rely on dark times, it's time to work on that deeply encrusted stain and do our absolute best to accept and overcome it. As far as I'm concerned, I've always had this holy trinity of things that I hated about myself. How skinny I was, my hair, and my scars. And I think that these 3 are really good examples because they illustrate 3 different ways of overcoming this hate. One that you can get rid of if you're dedicated enough to do so. In my case, my skinniness. It bothered me for years. I felt self-conscious and lacked confidence because I simply couldn't stand looking at myself in the mirror. But after the correct amount of time, a crapload of food, and 3 solid years of going to the gym daily, my gauge is filling by the day. One where only if you accept your current condition can you act on it. My hair was another source of insecurity for me. It didn't match the societal standards of beauty I had seen around me. I had curly hair, and the others didn't. Instead of aiming for a complete change, I learned to work with what I had. By researching hairstyles and hair care routine that suit my hair type, I found ways to ultimately like it. One where you have to accept it and there is nothing you can do about it. I know, that sucks. I wish I could say that my scars told cool stories, but they don't. When I was a kid, I was hyperactive and I really liked falling on my face for some reason. As a result, I gathered quite some good souvenirs. I couldn't change it, and that was just that. Why would I torture myself over something I can't change? It's like having an emotional breakdown about the fact that a rock is a rock. You really can't blame the rock in this situation. Self-acceptance is a powerful tool when used correctly. It helps you create a solid foundation of inner strength and confidence. Then, in order to make our acceptance stick together, we'll have to use our most powerful cement: time. The road to change and acceptance can and will be challenging, and you'll be filled with fear and uncertainty along the way. But a great treasure lies ahead of you, feeling yourself while living life. Okay, let's rewind and recap a bit. Everybody is flawed to the bone. They might appear perfect, but they're not. We all hate something about ourselves, and that is what makes us humans. But through sheer efforts and self-acceptance, we can all make sure that we will finally be able to live our lives. Not as actors this time, but as ourselves. This was the second episode of Lost in Your 20s. I hope I'll see you soon, and take care. Ali out.